Yes, indeedy, folks. It's the Beer Drinker's Guide to the Great Wahoo. Let's get into old McDonald's overalls and play E-I-E-I-O. It's East Idaho. East Idaho. Wow. It's not a very long drive, folks, and there are some mighty interesting things to check out over on the great eastern side of Idaho. During the end of September and 1st of October, my good friend Harold Moss and I had occasion to go exploring around eastern Idaho. On our first journey of EIEIO, we went exploring Rexburg, the Teton Flood Museum, and the ruined Teton Dam. We then drove Highway 33 over to 32 and up 32 to just before Marysville. This is beautiful, beautiful country driving along the west side of the Teton Mountains. Gorgeous farm country. In our last episode of EIEIO, we drove up Highway 47, the Mesa Falls Scenic Byway. The highlight of our last drive was Lower Mesa Falls. At 65 feet tall, you can see this falls from a viewpoint about a quarter of a mile away. Today we get back on beautiful Highway 47 from Lower Mesa Falls. We're only on the highway for 1 mile, and we turn off on a very windy little road that eventually lands us at this beautiful structure right here. This is Big Falls Inn. It was built in order to put in a power plant. The power plant never materialized. A man named John Hendricks first homesteaded this area, 160 acres, in 1901. In 1903, as soon as he had gotten the deed to the property, he sold it to the United States Commissioner Thomas Elliott, who, it turned out, not only accepted his patent for the land, it turns out that Thomas Elliott had given Hendricks the money to go homestead the property in the first place. The intention was to develop the property at Big Falls as a power plant in order to feed power to Marysville. Marysville, you will remember, is just south of this area. It is where we came off of Highway 32 and got on to the scenic Highway 47. The Snake River Electric Light and Power Company had a bad time of it to begin with. By 1912, they were exchanging the property many, many times over. The power dam and penstock were never built, but shortly after 1913, this log building, the Big Falls Inn, was erected at the site. Records indicate it cost $14,000 in materials and labor, built between 1913 and 1916. The literature about the building notes that it was really laid out more to serve as a corporate office and a corporate getaway than an inn. And it's speculated that really it was made as a company retreat for the CEOs of the power company. However, the inn was situated along the road that was going to the west entrance of Yellowstone National Park. The road was a long and rather grueling affair, and it turns out that the Big Falls Inn was just about halfway along it. A perfect place to stop and relax, look at the beautiful scenery, enjoy the magnificent falls, and rest for a night. In the 1920s and into the early 1930s, Big Falls Inn gained a reputation as a place to stop by on your way to Yellowstone. Longtime caretaker Charlie Causey was famed for his hospitality. Not only was his cooking famous, apparently his gambling and homemade spirits made for a special stay. Yellowstone Highway was improved over the years, and by 1932, there was not enough business to support the Big Falls Inn, and it was closed. In 1935, the power company that was holding the property sold it to Idaho Transmission Company, and the next May, they sold it to Montana Power. Actually, people sitting on the board, people who had interest in it, had always had interests in Montana Power as well. So this wasn't as big a change as it might have appeared. Montana Power used the resort as a hunting lodge for executives and employees. Eventually, even this use of the building diminished. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, the Boy Scouts of America used the facility. And from 1974 to 75, the Fremont County Police Officers Association leased the inn for $1 a year. From 1975 until 1984, the facility sat unused. Finally, after a complicated Forest Service exchange of properties, the United States Forest Service took the property over in 1986. By 1997, the United States Forest Service had entered into a unique relationship with the Idaho Department of Parks and Recreation, as well as private and public fundraisers who were interested in preserving this property. The building was renovated from 1997 and opened to the public in the summer of 2000. At this time, the Mesa Falls Scenic Byway was transformed into a first-class roadway. Today, the Big Falls Inn houses a visitor center, gift shop, and museum. From the Big Falls Inn, it's a very pleasant walk down to the falls. It is a few feet down, but they have made major improvements. Many of the viewing areas are available from ramps instead of stairs, and the facilities have been completely renovated in 1992 to make it so that even the stairs are excellent accommodations. We were here on the last day of September, so let's go on a beautiful fall walk, beginning on the path that leads from the Big Falls Inn down to the Upper Mesa Falls. Here are a few shots downstream from the falls. An interpretive sign points out the unique climate that is on the wall that faces into the falls. Because of the falling water, there is a constant temperature, a constant moisture that makes a very unique climate where some plants can live that could not live elsewhere in this dry southern forest condition. Upper Mesa Falls is 114 feet high and 200 feet wide. Through the year, the volume of water going over the falls varies between 600 and 1,500 cubic feet per second. This comes out to between 387 million to 967 million gallons of water a day plunging over the falls. Thanks to the fact that they never got around to building a power plant at this site, today Upper Mesa Falls is the largest undisturbed waterfall in the entire Columbia River system. This smaller falls is just downstream from the main falls. Walking back up to Big Falls Inn, we come across many interesting geological features of this area and some very well put and informative interpretive signs. When John Hendricks moved to this area to homestead his 160 acres, he brought his wife Clara and their 4 small children. There was no way to make a living here, of course. The power plant had not been built. So, to get by, John went and drove stagecoaches into Yellowstone during the summer. He also worked in sawmills and ran trap lines. Clara hung around with the 4 children and hated every minute of living at this place. When you consider the fast-moving waters and the steep cliffs and this isolated homestead, you can understand why. She was perfectly happy to move in 1903, when finally the homestead was patented. Today, we find this cautionary sign, and thanks to great handrails and well-done stairs and pavements, we, fortunately, do not have to worry as much as poor Clara did, with her 4 children playing in this area. We are free to enjoy the lovely Upper Mesa Falls. This sign points out that this area is one of 3 calderas. The latest of these is, of course, over in Yellowstone. Arriving at Big Falls Inn, we get in the car and we drive up the wonderful little windy road that takes us from Highway 47 down to Big Falls Inn. At Highway 47, we turn north and we enjoy a beautiful drive through a high plateau and eventually onto the desert scrub, where we will meet with Highway 20 and end our discovery of the beautiful Highway 14 Mesa Falls Scenic Byway. One day, a sweet and curious little girl asked her mommy, "Mommy, why are there people?" Her mommy explained that God made Adam and Eve and Eve had babies, and that's where people came from. Well, that made sense to the little girl, and she was happy with that for a few days, but she still was just kind of curious. It seemed odd. So she asked her daddy. Her daddy explained somehow the mystery and magic of life became more and more organized until there was a common ancestor from which we and primates and monkeys and other similar creatures came from. The next time the little girl saw her mommy, she says, "Mommy, why is it that you tell me that we came from Adam and Eve, and Daddy tells me that we came from monkeys?" "Oh, that's easy to understand," her mother said. "I was telling you where my side of the family comes from, and your dad was telling you where his side of the family comes from." And that's another Beer Drinker's Guide to the Great Wahoo. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you next week. And in the meantime, keep celebrating the Great Wahoo!